Hello and welcome to Stampin' by Hannah. Today I have this lovely Easter card for you that is featured on as this week's Fantasy Stampers guest design team challenge. This fortnight's challenge is Easter and this is what I came up with, and I thought I would show you exactly how I made this card. So for this card you will need a piece of paper pizzazz, which is A4 cut in half, folded in half, and a piece of Stampin' Up watercolour paper, which is cut to 14.2 centimetres by 10 centimetres, 14.2 by 10 centimetres, which sits perfectly on the front of our card. You will also need the Indescribable Gift stamp set and 4 ink colours. I've got Blushing Bride, Pear Pizzazz, Pink Pirouette and Sahara Sand, and my Versamark. So I'm going to move my lovely card out of the way for a moment, and my card base. I've already got the floral image mounted onto my clear block, and I'm going to ink it up with the Versamark ink. This is a clear sticky ink that we're going to heat emboss, which just gives a nice outline for our watercolouring. So I'm going to stamp that onto the watercolour paper, and you can see nothing at all. I've got my Stampin' Up clear embossing powder. I keep all my embossing powders in these little Systema boxes, and I have a spoon somewhere. There it is. And just spoon on the embossing powder. I find I make much less mess if I do it this way. I think that is nicely covered and you still can't see anything. I'm going to get that out of the way. And then I'm going to just hit this with my heat gun to melt that embossing powder. Okay, so that's now melted, and I have no idea if you can see that it's now shiny. And now I've got a glass top to my table, so I'm actually going to take my grid paper away and just work on, you can see my lamp. I am sorry, if I move it, you won't be able to see anything at all, so I do apologise for the lamp. But it means that I can work on the glass cutting surface. If I put that there, that's less distracting, isn't it? So let's start with Pink Pirouette. And you could just as easily use a large acrylic block for this. And I just smoosh the ink onto the glass, And then I've got a water spritzer that's just got water in it. I have a W on the top of mine, so I remember which one's got water in. And just a bit of water on there. And I prefer to do this with a paintbrush. You could use an aqua painter to do this, to get the same effect, but I find I've got better control if I use my paintbrush. And we're just going to paint the petals. The reason why I've heat embossed it first rather than just stamping is because that heat embossed line kind of becomes a break for the water. Because the water just doesn't, the water's got sort of nowhere to escape really, and so that the colouring, the ink then stays within the lines. I'm just adding some extra water to these flowers just to make them a little bit softer. Okay. I'm then going to do the same with Blushing Bride. I'm going to just wipe my surface with my trusty microfiber cloth. And I've got some Blushing Bride, which is just a slightly darker pink. I'm going to hit that with my water spritzer. And this time I'm just going to get the areas that I want to hit with the Blushing Bride a bit wet first. I don't know how well this is coming across in video, I've got to say. Probably working right at the bottom of the screen as well doesn't help. Just pre-wetting the area just allows that ink to just move and be a little bit freer. Add a little bit of Blushing Bride to the centre of the flowers as well, just to give them a bit of depth. And then I'm going to wipe that off of my glass surface as well. And then I've got purple as well. This is my green, which you can definitely see on camera. I don't know if you could see the pink pirouette or the Blushing Bride. And this is what we're going to do the leaves in. Can you see as well where the embossed areas are resisting the water, so that you can still see that crisp line image underneath, which is just lovely. And you don't need to be too neat with this either. You can be quite messy, and actually the messier that looks the better, because after all it's been hand painted. I don't go in, my motto if you like is it should look handmade. If you've made it by hand you should be able to tell it's been made by hand, which means sometimes I'm a bit slapdash, but people know that they've got a card from somebody who cares because they've made it themselves. I've got some of my Sahara sand now, which I'm just using to just do some of the branches. Just adding a touch just to complete the card. So I'm going to hit that with my heat tool again, just so it's dry. I would, if it would work. Okay. I've then also got the Happy Easter sentiment from my indescribable gift stamp set. And I'm going to stamp this down here in this corner. And if you take a look at my original, it's actually, the stamp's all in one line, but I've broken it up. And the way I've done this is by careful inking. You can either very carefully ink your stamp using the ink pad, or using our Stampin' Right markers. And this is the Stampin' Right marker in Pear Pizzazz. The ink in our Stampin' Right markers is exactly the same as the ink in our ink pads. So then you can just colour in the area of the sentiment that you want. And then make sure it's nice and clean. I've got my Stampin' Scrub off to one side. And then colour in the other half. There's two ends to our Stampin' Right markers. There's a brush tip and a pointed tip. And you need to use the brush tip for... oh dear, look at that. Wonky. You use the brush tip when colouring stamps, and you colour them with the side of the nib, otherwise you'll damage the pen. So all it takes now is to attach that onto the card, and there you have our Happy Easter cards for the Fantasy Stampers Easter Time Challenge. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.